Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. Here, this is the spot where the conversations are pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. Did you bring your thinking caps? Because it's time to put them on. Because the conversation starts now. In Vegas. They got my crab table ready. They got it warmed up for me. I'm ready.
Always. It is pool season, honey. It is time to head to Vegas.
Oh, Lord. I want to see that really Bruno Mars. I want to see my boy Bruno. Have you seen the show?
No. Sting has been in town and a couple of others that have
we'll be together.
I really want to see Bruno Mars. My daughter and I actually sat in the parking lot. We accidentally paid for event parking. That's a long story, but anyway, we did. And so we were sitting in the parking lot and we thought, well, we paid for parking. Let's just get tickets and go.
Right.
But then we looked at the prices and we were like, never mind.
Okay, so like what was it? Because I'm gonna tell you the trickery that they did on me. What was the prices like there for the tickets?
Like $278, somewhere in there.
Yeah, just wait. And you could purchase the ticket right there at the venue?
Right. Well, in the car on our phone. Yeah.
Okay, because this is what they did to me. So I go through StubHub. Yeah, I'm gonna call them out, StubHub. Okay, and I'm all excited. They got me for $2,000 for what? 3 tickets. Well, you know what? It was the pandemic. It was but it was the pandemic. I hadn't been anywhere. And girl, I love Bruno. Mm-hmm. I saw him when he was on Ellen DeGeneres. I was in the audience that day, baby. He took the roof off the building. It was worth every penny. So I said, okay, I'll do it. But it was contingent on if he cancels, you will get your money back plus 20%.
Right.
Well, they said he didn't cancel because of COVID. He rescheduled.
Oh, wait, what?
Wait, but your news broadcast reported that he had canceled, and if you want a refund, contact your ticket distributor by August, whatever the date was at that time. Uh-huh. I want my money back because COVID's not going away.
No, and
I don't want to be there fanning out with no damn mask on my face. I want to sing every song for $2,000.
That's right.
Okay, and I had to fight with them to get my money back. So if I know I can get there and get a ticket, I'll drop $250. I'll do it.
Yeah.
It's a far cry from that. And you know who else is excellent? Usher.
Oh, girl. Usher.
Oh, no, girl. He ain't a snack. He ain't a snack. He eat a whole damn meal.
And his cologne ain't bad either.
I know. That's so good. So welcome to the Edge, Charlie Mack. Why they call you Charlie Mack?
That's a funny story, actually. My full name is Charlotte McLean, but I don't go by that because no one can spell it.
Charlotte has always been a challenging name for me to spell, too. I don't know why.
Some folks want to do an L-E-Y at the end to feminize it, but I just go the old C-H-A-R-L-I-E.
Oh, shit.
But yeah, a friend of mine and I were talking, and I was saying, I can't even look at this. And I was showing him my Starbucks cup, and I won't even tell you how bad it was. And he said, well, you should go, shorten your name, go by a nickname. I said, I don't have a nickname. He said, Charlie Mack. Why don't you just use the nickname I gave you? And I said, okay.
So tell us how you show up in the world. Tell us a little bit about you. Oh, Brains, I forgot to tell you, on the Edge with me and Charlie Mack.
Here we are.
Vegas, and I'm in San Diego, California. We about to chop it up for you like Ginsu knives. All right.
So I am what I call a confidence activator. I primarily work with driven career moms of all ages. So a lot of my moms have adult kids, not just little ones running around. And we work on elevating confidence, because that appears to be the number one issue that women want immediate help for. And then there's all the plethora of other goodies that get unpacked along the way.
Okay, so you say your title is You Are a Wild Woman Well, your business is Wild Woman International.
Yep. And I'm a confidence activator.
Okay, a confidence activator. So let's get into that a little bit.
All right.
Self-esteem is an inside job.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Your drive, your inspiration, your wants, your needs. When you look at yourself in the mirror, you know, where'd you get your pixie dust? How do you, I mean, really, I mean, what do you sprinkle on people to make those things come alive?
Well, for me, I draw a lot on my own history. I had been through a lot of trauma and toxic relationships, two of which were very abusive. And so I guess it's like the survivor gene or the survivor pixie dust that got me through that. I spent years working on my own personal development. I've always been into it. I mean, when I was in my 20s, I read Codependent No More or Codependency No More. Yeah. So I've always been into reading all those books, but my frustration coming out of some of the stuff I went through was that I had been reading those books for almost 20 years and didn't have a lot to show for it. So what the hell, what was it that was missing?
Right,
And I
right,
kept
right.
thinking about that. And so I started kind of creating my own journals and I'm kind of nerdy that way. I'm an old English teacher. So I like to create my own everythings, and I'll go and get it self-published, just buy my own copies, and I'm good to go.
You say you buy your own crap, girl. I know.
I do.
I do. Me too. I take myself to lunch. Absolutely. Hold on. Wait. Okay. Wait. No. Put it up there so everybody can see it. I got to get full screen on that.
Let's see. We can get that right there. We go.
Look
So
at
this is the Wild Women's Planner. It's full color.
Oh wow! Look
and
at
full
that.
of all kinds of goodies. And as you can see, I use it myself. And that's the kind of nerd I am. So I've been doing that now for almost a decade. And friends started to say, what is that? Let me see that. Do you mind if I look? And can I get one? And where do I get one? And all of that. And that's what kind of got me into actual coaching, is conversations that I was having with friends and them wanting copies of my little planner that I was making for myself. And it just kind of grew from there. And so I decided, well, I'm going to get my butt back to school. Being an old educator, that's sort of how I roll. I know some coaches don't go that route, which is fine. I respect that. But for me,
well, I look at this coaching thing with a side eye, like I do with entrepreneurs. It's a lot of responsibility. You are holding someone's future in the palm of your hands. It's not a game of bullshit.
That's right.
Okay. You have to know what you're doing, and you want to enhance that person. You don't want to change them, because they're going to be who they are.
That's right.
But they also have to be ready for the transformation. People,
Agreed.
I'm going to get a coach. Okay, fine. And then you don't do anything with it. You're still sitting on the bench.
That's right. That's really common, in fact.
You've never been, and you've never really done the activation part. So you got to.
That's why I don't work for free, because every time I ever have, that's been the outcome.
But it turns into a therapy session, and talk therapy is great, but that's not what you're there for. People don't understand the difference between a therapy session and a coaching. Tell me some of the things that you do in your coaching practice.
That's funny, because I just had a conversation at the hair salon not too long ago about that.
You got some pretty thick hair. That's pretty.
Oh, I mean, it's so much hair.
That's good.
Thank you. But I was at the salon, and I was having a conversation with one of the other gals, not even my hairdresser, because you're in the room, you're doing the thing that you do at the hair salon, and next thing you know, everyone's listening in and chiming in on what you have to say. But this one gal was talking to me about her sister, who was in recovery from a very toxic, abusive relationship herself. And so she was, kind of hitting me up for a little tips and tricks kind of a thing.
Right.
And so I said to her, look, talk therapy is great. And I highly recommend that your sister get her butt into some therapy, because that's always helpful. But I would combine that with coaching. And here's why. Because the difference, for me at least, is that every single session that I have with a client, there's a goal. There's a goal for the session, and there's a goal for what comes after the session. And there's homework that actually drives my client to their goal. And sometimes I have to invent that homework. Other times I pull from, my wisdom file is what I like to call it. And I have a workbook for my one-on-one clients. And sometimes we use half of it. Sometimes we use all of it. Sometimes we use none of it. Just depends on their journey. Um, and then I have a couple of programs that are smaller and more affordable. And I try to just drop in and get folks started on a path of habit, because beliefs are everything, but habits define our beliefs on a daily basis. And so for me, that's the difference between coaching and one-on-one,
Now, you said that you had some, pretty abusive relationships. What was your aha moment? And you said, you know what? Turn this noise off. I'm out.
It's interesting because I call them number one and number two respectively. And we'll talk about why later, but
Okay.
But number one was 13 years, and he was much more clever and conniving and sneaky and wealthy. And it's shocking what wealthy men can get away with in this world.
Girl, please.
We all know, like a wealthy white man, I'm just saying. So he got away with a lot. And for a long time, I questioned my own sanity. And at one point, I was standing on my birthday in London in front of some incredible, beautiful place. And I was thinking to myself, what the hell am I doing here? Because we had just gotten in a fight. He had just walked away and left me there on the streets of London by myself on my birthday. And I just said, F this, enough of this. And so on the plane on the way home, he once again got into it with me and was trying to gaslight me and the whole thing. And the plane stops and we all go to get off the plane. And I looked at him and I said, F you. And the look on his face, I'll never forget. It was the most beautiful thing. And I walked off the plane with my stuff. And that was the beginning of the end for me, that one.
So did he have a narcissistic personality?
Oh, yes, indeedy. And I don't like to diagnose people. And that's one of the things I try to be sensitive about, because my own son has had some mental health issues and things like that. And so I know how serious it is to call someone a narcissist, because you're basically giving them a life sentence of never being able to change. So, for me, that's what I call a real monster. That is someone who can't be fixed, can't be changed in any way. And my one and only advice for someone who's in a relationship with someone like that is, girl, run. And that's it.
That's crazy.
No joke. Crazy. Girl, run.
Let's talk about the artwork on your arm.
Oh,
okay.
I have oodles.
Yeah, I know. So why did you decide to decorate your body and adorn your body?
Well, the first time I decided to get a tattoo was actually when I was still married to number one. And he told me that people would judge me and that it was trashy. And I think I carried that with me through the divorce. And so my daughter came to me, I guess it was about a year after the divorce. And she said, Mom, I want to go get my first tattoo. And I said, great, I'll go with you. And
boy.
And that started it. So we went to, what was then a famous house of tattoos in LA. It had its own TV show and all that jazz.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to get Dr. Wu to do mine. It's a list, girl. It's a line.
Oh yeah,
a year and a half, and I only want one about this big. And I'm asking you this because I don't want to be addicted. I saw, and I say this with love, but I remember working in Venice Beach. You've been to Venice Beach, and I saw the tattoo lady of Venice, and she's covered from head to toe.
Yeah,
and she was old, and that was the ugliest thing I had ever seen.
Yeah. I try to tell myself that. I try to remind myself. I got this one this year. Let's see. Well, last year. Whoops. There we go.
Oh, that's pretty.
That's my wild woman tattoo.
That's pretty. So
yeah,
I had another girlfriend, but wait, this was kind of funny. I had another girlfriend that big fluffy girl, beautiful Italian, long black hair. She got a big raven on her back. All across her back, wingspan, gorgeous.
Amazing.
Well, then she got a wild hair up her ass and she said, you know what? I am going to get a gastric bypass.
Oh.
Girl, that raven went down to a crow.
Oh no. Well,
And
that can
so,
happen. I will tell you, and I've said this many times to folks who ask, when I was getting my first tattoo, I was already thinking about my second, and so on and so on. And they do get expensive. I mean, you're paying somewhere between $400 and $1,200 a tattoo, depending on what you're getting and how well you tip,
wow,
right? So if
right,
it's all
right.
color and it's detailed and you tip well, you're going to spend some cash. You really are.
What's the healing process like?
It goes pretty quickly for me, at least. I think it's a little different for everyone. And then also, that's why you want to go to a really good artist, because if you don't, it will not heal well. And then you know that you've, entered the danger zone, right? But yeah, you just slather on. It's like Neosporin, and now for the life of me, I can't think of the name of it. Starts with an A.
A&D ointment?
No, but it is an ointment like that. It's very much like Neosporin. It's clear and gooey.
Okay.
Anyway, that's kind of my go-to. Be happy to send you a link later. But anyway, I just pack that on and follow the directions of the artist, and
Okay. And
I
then
keep it covered.
then it kind of scabs up, and then the scab comes off, and then really,
Yes,
and now
ma'am.
it's there forever, ever, forever,
Yeah,
ever.
forever, ever.
Okay. And so you're not going to put anybody's name on your.
I
Did you do that?
foolishly have
No,
done
you
that.
didn't. No, you
Not
did, girl.
not once, but twice.
What
And
was
yeah,
it? Number one and number two?
it was just number two, and I put that on there twice. What was I thinking?
Because
Anyway,
he
but
had
I
to
mean,
spend,
I
he
did
had
it.
put the spin golly on you, and he threw you a couple, couple C notes, bought you some Gucci, took you,
Yeah.
yeah, I
That
get.
guy was a con artist all day long, and
Wow,
I
well,
got
he
had
got you.
good.
Okay,
But
so
this
what'd you
this
do?
right here is actually a cover up of
Okay,
one of them, and then the other one's on my back, and I'm gonna have that modified.
on your back. You wanted him to see his name when he was handling his
Ugh,
business.
just thinking about it grosses me out.
I know, but you know what? Life will send you lemons, and you've ended up making lemonade.
Well, let me tell you, I had just said this the other day. I'm extremely grateful to both of those men, because I had spent, and I didn't even realize this until later, because we were talking about that earlier about realizing, right? And I didn't realize that I had spent a lifetime in those kind of relationships. And here I was in my 40s, mid 40s, when I got together with number two, and I still hadn't learned. So if it wasn't for number two, especially because it was so over the top, it was so dramatic. I lost everything, every penny I had ever earned, my retirement, my just everything, right? And he was physically abusive. I literally fled for my life. And if I hadn't have done that, I may still have not ever realized what I needed to learn. And so in the end, I'm really grateful, because he taught me what I really needed to learn, which was it's about me and
Right,
loving myself.
right, right.
And that's where confidence begins.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Confidence and self-assurance. But confidence, a lot of times people misconstrue that as cocky
Mm-hmm.
or arrogant or conceit.
Sure.
And I say this to you, Brains, it's how you frame it. I don't care what that outside noise is talking about. I don't care what they're saying, because they're the people that tricked you up to begin with.
That's right.
You know?
Especially on Twitter.
Oh my God. And social media. I was talking to another one of my guests about that. I don't know how people get so caught up in what other people don't even know you are talking about, where to the point where they're, considering suicide, or, they're not eating, or low self-esteem, or because of what they got some keyboard courage. They wouldn't say that to
Yeah.
your face.
Well, I think that has a lot to do with what kind of a circle you build around yourself. That's another one of the things that I work with my clients on. And in fact, I have a little site. It's $444 a year, and there's 2 courses on there. And then I pop in live a couple times a week. It's a little group container off social media. It's its own container. And what I like about that is that there is no other junk in there. And along with that is this one course that I designed called Real Monsters and Sacred Boundaries. And I talk in there about creating boundaries and looking at the people in your life. Are they some kind of character that maybe isn't healthy for you? And should you erect some boundaries to allocate them to their proper space? And sometimes that space is outer space. And
Right.
other times the space is, maybe just 1 or 2 steps away from your internal space that maybe you've allowed other, characters to get into your life. And I think that that's a really important discussion. And I cannot tell you how many times women come to me and say, how do I do that? How do I create boundaries?
Because what you do is you block and unfriend, number one. But I do that. I do that a lot.
Oh, yeah.
I edit and filter people in my
Mhm.
life. Not that they're not a great person, but
Right.
there's a reason and there's a season.
That's right.
And everybody doesn't deserve a front row seat in your life, brains.
That's
Sometimes they
right.
got to move to the balcony or the overflow, or they got to stand outside to get a ticket.
That's right.
And
That's
it's all
exactly
right
right.
because there's people, you've been in the room with them, Charlie, that suck the oxygen right out the room.
Yep.
Or how about this one? The sly, slick chick that's always got something a little snarky to say. A little dig in, and you just don't say nothing. You just keep doing it, keep doing it. Well, you know what? I'm gonna give you 2 or 3 times to get your dig in. I'm not gonna say nothing.
That's right.
And it depends on how deep you dig in. You might dig yourself a hole you can't get out of. I don't
That's
want
right.
to bother with you no more. I'm not gonna argue with you. I'm not gonna disagree with you. I'm not gonna try to change your perception of me or whatever, because you're telling me really what you think. The thing
right.
is, am I really listening?
Exactly.
Now that's a double-edged
Yeah.
sword. Maybe I am exuding something toxic. Maybe I am doing something that's just way out and crazy. Maybe I've told you about this certain situation 5 times and you're tired of hearing it. I get it. But if you're a friend, stop me, block me, and talk to me about it. But don't go and gossip about me. Don't talk to my man about it.
Oh.
Have you seen those women, girl, that won't talk to you, but will talk to your man? Girl, now that will get your eyes scratched out.
Just saying. Yeah. Well, and there's an ulterior motive there. There is.
Oh yeah, because she thinks that the grass is greener on the other side. Well, wait till that next sister got rid of you got rid of the millionaire. Wait till she gets him and see what she get.
Well, that's what's a little funny about that. And actually, since you mentioned it, my ex-best friend from that time married him.
Shut the front door. No, she didn't. Did she? Girl, what? So I know you got the scoop. Somebody done told you something.
Well,
What's
let's
going
just
on
say
with
she
that?
got exactly what she deserved. That's all good. I don't resent her or whatever, but I would never recommend friending her.
No, no. And
Yeah.
hey, the people, they always think the grass is greener on the other side.
They do. Well, and when there's money involved, people put blinders on that you would not believe. I
What is
remember,
it about money that makes people go from a flicker to a flame?
it's interesting what we do about that. I learned firsthand, and it's something that I've done some writing about actually, because I find it really interesting when I would go with my ex to some event, brand new, walking in the door for the first time. If they heard that he had money, they would make 3 assumptions. Number 1, he must be successful, and therefore I want to be around that individual. Number 2, he must be truthful. Everything he says must be correct because he's successful. Number 3, he must be a great guy because he talks like he's a great guy. All 3, dead wrong. And there you go. So it's one of those things that we do as a society. I think it's a societal issue that we have where we give respect when it hasn't been earned. And I got to give Brene Brown credit for that one, because I say it to my clients so often. And I just ask the question, oh, really? Did she earn you sharing that story with her? Oh, really? Did they earn that space into your life? And as soon as I ask it, you see the look on their face. They're like, oh, oh no, they didn't. And I think that that's really important when we're out there networking as business women, to ask that question with every one of those acquaintances. What am I sharing? What am I giving? Did they earn it? Because if they didn't,
Absolutely.
shake their hand, take their business card, network all day, but Be wary of what you're giving for nothing.
Right. Well, I don't like the word cheap, and I'm very cautious of the word free.
Yeah. Amen.
Uh, because what you get cheap is what someone didn't want to pay full value for. Is
That's
that your
right.
love? Is that your respect? Is those shoes that hurt your feet
All day.
all day? And free. Everything free is not good. Free sometimes is given because it's been discarded and nobody wants it anymore. It's free because it has diminished in value. It's free because I'm trying to manipulate you and trick you into coming in and doing something because I gave it to you for free. So watch those words. Those words.
That's why I had a choice to set up my group on social media or to make it paid and off social media, right? Because then I have to pay for that container. And you know what? I just decided I'm not doing it on social media because I don't want to be one of those. And no offense to y'all who do your groups, but I don't want to create a container just to lure women in to sell them other stuff that just doesn't feel good to me. And that's exactly your point there is, it's really not free
Right. Well,
when
okay,
it's a lure.
okay. Well, this is my thing
Mhm.
is that number one, social media is social media. People crack me up. Don't talk to people in my group. You don't own them. I could have found them, on all these other different sites. So you don't dictate who I talk to. Number
Mhm.
one, if I present them with an opportunity to have a conversation and they're interested in it, I'm going full throttle. Okay. Then the second thing is that when people don't make an investment, they don't have the same level of interest.
That's right.
So you go somewhere and you give everybody one of your beautiful planners. Are they going to use it?
Nope.
Maybe, maybe not. But if they pay 15, 20, $25 for it, they have an investment in it.
That's right.
There's a return on the investment. They're going to use it. At least they're going to open it up and look at it because they paid for it.
That's right.
But some of those lessons you have to pay for, and they're life lessons.
Mhm.
And they come for free.
That's right. The hard way.
The hard way. The hard way. And it's like when you share things with your kids, you have a conversation with them. And I told my daughter, I said, if I know that the bus is coming, I'm going to try to snatch you up off the curb.
Mhm. Mhm.
But if you do the same thing day after day after day, you've got to learn that lesson.
That's right.
So
That's
when you
right.
learned your lesson and you bumped your head, how did you start loving yourself again? How did you regain that chutzpah to say, you know what? I am a victim of my circumstance, but this is not who I am. How did you gain self-love again?
Well, I have to give Wayne Dyer some credit there.
Oh, honey, yes. I used to work KPBS, girl. He'd walk in the room with them no
Oh,
shoes on, and the whole trajectory, the whole vibe would change.
that man literally embodied love.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
And I think that that in of itself is an amazing thing to just sit and think about.
Hmm.
Do I embody love? How would I embody love if that was my goal? What would that look like? What would that feel like? But that being said, I was a Wayne Dyer junkie. I had read everything that he had ever created. And I kept asking that question, well, but how? And I think it was, I'm trying to remember the name of that book. It was on What We Believe. And it had a whole list. I'll think of it in a moment here. Anyway, it was where he lists what I did believe and what my new belief ought to be, right? Basically. And I had sticky notes all over my house with the new beliefs, and I would read them to myself day after day after day. And I got to be honest, they weren't sticking. And I thought, what's the issue here? I'm looking at this. Why is this not working? Now, some gals, in our circle would say, that's because you didn't do your shadow work and so on. And to me, the
Right.
secret to everything for me and my clients is befriending what I call your inner supervillain. And so that was the step that I needed to take for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's usually the step that my clients need to make as well. And basically what that involves is trying to separate. And I think the analogy has a lot of power in it. So think of your subconscious. It runs your show 95% of the time. That's just pure science, right? But if you think of it as my subconscious, then you start to own it and you start to put all kinds of crap on yourself. Oh, I should know. Why did I? And then we start punishing ourselves for speaking negative. And I know you know what I mean, because you go into those circles and like, oh girl, it's all about what you believe and what you think. And true. But let's not like punish each other for someone not being on the same page or the same part of the journey as we are, right?
Or they think they're super heady and super smart. They just know everything. And that's me. What I've had to pull back is because I'm so fortunate to have all these amazing guests like you and others that pour into me on a daily basis. Give me the pros and the cons. Allow me to edit and filter and slice and dice. I'll get into a room and everybody's looking at me. I'm there to listen. I'm not there to, I don't give you advice. I offer suggestions.
That's right. That's right.
Because I'm not the smartest person in the room, and what works for me is not necessarily going to work for you.
Well, that's a rule of mine. I make sure I'm not the smartest person in the room. I make sure that I'm in a room where I might be the least smartest person in the room, because then you're in a good room. That's the room you want to be in. But yeah, in terms of your inner supervillain, I started to have this analogy where I would think of her as a her and not me, because I realized, wait a minute, when I die,
see my little alter ego right here.
Yes,
that's her.
I love
Maybe
it.
you ain't lived till you've been a bobblehead. You ain't lived, okay? We're going to get you a bobblehead.
I was thinking about that the other day, that I would love to see how to get one.
Okay, I'll hook you up. But I get it. You have to have somewhere to push it off.
Well, because here's the deal. And I'll talk about my own mortality here, but when I die, and I leave this skin, this body, what's the me that leaves? Does the me that leaves take all this crap from this experience, all of those shadow moments, all of those, dark trauma moments? No. That me goes on to a better place. Whatever your beliefs are regarding that, whatever, right? But for me, that me goes somewhere else and doesn't take all that crap with her. She goes on to maybe recycle and start again, or whatever, the journey is, right? So if that's the case, then the subconscious isn't really me. So that means the subconscious is merely a reflection of this human's experiences, insights, reflections, etc. Right?
That's interesting.
And so I can legitimately call her because she's going to stay here when I go. Some of it will come with me, the memories of my loved ones and what have you. Anything having to do with love goes with you, in my opinion. But all that being said, it's very easy to then say, wait a minute, that's not my fault. She believes that because she went through that thing when she was 7 years old and what have you. And that really helps me and my clients to start thinking about healing from a different perspective.
Right. That inner child work.
Yeah. Yeah. And without having to beat ourselves up for those thought processes that start kicking in, when that inner supervillain starts talking about like, when you're doing dishes or whatever, right? So my number one thing that I tell my clients is start looking for those moments and catch them. That's all you have to do. Just catch it right then and say to her, listen, I love you. I respect you, but this is not the time. I'll talk to you on Sunday. And then I actually have a little exercise. It's funny, since we mentioned it, that I have in here it is. So this is where we talk to the inner supervillain on therapy day.
Okay.
And so for me, that's on a Sunday at 3:00, and I still do it. I've been doing it now for, 8 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and I do it every Sunday like clockwork. I'll
Okay, what
journal
do
it
you
out.
do? Come on, share it with us.
Sure. So this is my number one tip. So catch her, and when you're first starting, see if you can count how many times you catch her, because it'll blow your mind. One day I caught her 35 times in one day.
Wow.
And it was such an aha moment for me. Like, wow, I spend the bulk of my day beating myself up. What the hell is this about? And that really started to take me down that healing path, right? And then on Sunday, I give her 30 seconds. I grab a pen and I just, pardon me, word vomit all over the page. Oh my God, I'm so afraid. I'm so, and what if this, and what if he doesn't like me? And what if she doesn't? And what if they don't like me at work? And da, 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 da. Right.
Brain
And
dumps.
yeah,
Mhm.
and I just let it go for 30 seconds though. And then I'm like, time's up. Thank you for sharing. And then I write a little note to her. I tell her I love her. I tell her I understand her fears and her concerns, but I've got this. And that's an empowering statement for me to
Yes,
be
it is.
conscious and aware and thoughtful about what my intentions are moving forward.
That's
Right.
beautiful. That's great. That's a love letter. I did that up to my money. Girl, I was broke as a joke. And I knew financial literacy. My parents taught me about investing and all that, but I got caught up in some trickery, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I wrote a letter to my money.
Mm.
Girl, and I poured it into money. You're controlling and you're deceptive and this, that, and the other. Well, you know what? I put the pen in the other hand and money wrote me back and said, you have allowed this. You are leading credence to this. You're pouring into this. I'm nothing but a vehicle of exchange. I'm just a receipt for goods and services. The only
Sure.
value that I have is the value that you put on me.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, tying that back to that money situation, ladies, because somebody can swoon you with
Mm-hmm.
opulence, you're still paying the price and you're
That's
paying
right.
full price and it ain't cheap and it ain't free.
That's right. It's just shiny.
It's just shiny. So, let me ask you a couple fun questions because you seem like a fun kind of girl.
Thanks.
If you were an appliance in the kitchen,
Mm.
what appliance would you be?
Oh, let's see here. What appliance would I be? It's funny because I'm cycling through all the appliances that I use on a daily basis and prefer, and like, why do I prefer them? So that's really interesting. Um, I would have to say the oven,
Hmm.
because when I really get turned on about something, I go all in, right? And I get
You're hot?
hot.
Okay.
Hot for
I'd probably
something.
be today. I'd probably be the salt and pepper shakers. Because I want to add a little spice to it. I want
Oh,
to add a
that's
little
good.
flavor to it. Um,
I might
what
have
are
to
three
steal that
things?
one.
What are three things you absolutely cannot live without?
Three things I can't. Meditation, number one, end all be all for me. Bread. I love bread.
Girl, that's my kryptonite. Oh,
I
I
know.
know. And you know what? I've gotten to the point where I can't even buy it
Yeah,
because it does something to me, and it's not.
I make mine, and that's a
Oh,
little better, but because then at least you know exactly what's in it,
right,
right?
right.
And the third thing has got to be my daughter.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah,
All right.
she's my light.
What would you tell a 25-year-old Charlie Mack?
Ooh, what would I tell a 25-year-old? It isn't really you.
Mm,
Get to know your inner supervillain, because it isn't really you.
that's pretty
And
deep.
get on the path to figuring out who is really you.
What makes you cry?
Oh gosh, it's so funny. Loss, grief is the thing that makes me like an honest, serious cry. But other than that, girl, I will cry over a Hallmark commercial. But an honest, deep cry um, is grief. Yeah, I lost my dog recently,
Oh,
and the grief that came as a result honestly shocked me. I knew I would miss him. I knew I would feel sad. Don't get me wrong, but the level of it really
oh,
surprised
I
me. It
know.
very much
I
came out of
know.
left field for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very intense. What do you want your legacy to be, Charlie Mack?
I want to change thousands of women's lives for the better. And I want that on my tombstone. She changed thousands of lives for the better.
All right. That's all I can say. Tell my brains how to get in contact with you, how to purchase a copy of that journal, and how to work with you.
The journal is actually on Amazon all day long, and Barnes and Noble, and basically any other bookseller.
What's the name of it? Put it up for us one more time so we can
It
see.
is the Wild Woman's Planner. And if you're doing a search by Charlie Mack, you'll find it faster.
Okay.
And then you can find me in general on wildwomeninternational.com. And if you're interested in that group that I was talking about, it's just getting started. That is Wild Femme, FEMME.co.
All right. So you say femme. Are you a feminist?
Yes, ma'am. All
Yeah.
day.
All day?
Yeah. Yeah. I could talk about that for another hour.
I don't know how I feel about that sometimes because
Yeah, I get that.
women position themselves to be one way, and when you pull back the layers, they can be worse than any man. Girl, I have been in the workplace, I've been pushed up on by more women. I have been denied opportunities by more women.
Yep.
I have been um but I've had some great women mentors, so I'm not knocking that.
Yep.
But we have to, as women, not try to wear the suit of a man.
Amen. That is my message about all
Right.
of that.
Bring your femininity to the table. Bring your negotiation skills. Bring your sensibility. Bring your vulnerability. Bring your hopes, your dreams, your wishes. And also open your ears.
That's
Be
right.
a good listener. Don't always be the one that's jaw jacking in the room. You got to be the smartest one in the room all the time. We done told you about that. Okay? And watch what you get for free and make sure that it ain't cheap. Thank you
That's
so
right.
much, Charlie Mack. You are the business brains. Handle your business. Go in, love, like, and share. Algorithms is changing on the Facebook. I'm telling you. You got to diversify. You got to be on different platforms. You got to be out there often and regularly. Go in and show your support for people like me and Charlie Mack that are doing the deep dive, that are doing the hard work, that's digging the trench. But we don't want you to fall in a hole. Okay? So thank you so much, baby. I'll talk to you again soon. You're the best.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, brains.